Welcome back to the studio, ladies and gentlemen, where tonight we are going to paint one of these fish. These are salmon, I believe. They've been swimming upstream, getting ready to spawn. They have changed all kinds of crazy colors: orange, reds, blues, greens. They're about ready to die off, but we're about to immortalize them in our painting. And here's what I have drawn. You can see, if you can see it, I think you can see it there. I'm just focusing on one fish in this picture. I picked the biggest fish just to make it easy. If you wanted to do three, it would just take a little bit longer, but you could do it. Okay, I'm using some Winsor Newton Cotman brushes. Bought these in a pack. They're really nice, not too expensive. I'll talk about those more as I use them. And I'm just going to use a little travel tin that I've got here. It's a Van Gogh tin. Doesn't have Van Gogh paints in it. Love the Van Gogh paints and blew through them, used them all up. Van Gogh, if you're listening, love your paints. But these are, I believe, Winsor Newton paints in here, except for my ultramarine and maybe my phthalo blue, which I believe are Daler Rowney. But no, nevertheless, here they are. We're going to get going, and I'm going to start with a, what do I have here? This is a number 6 round. Actually, I'm not going to start with a number 6 round. Look at this, I'm wrong already. I'm going to start with a flat brush or a 1-stroke. And I'm just going to try to start in the upper left-hand corner, paint kind of all the way down across this guy. Just in my first pass here, and I'm getting out what I think is, well, I thought it was phthalo blue. It's definitely not phthalo blue, but it's a nice blue, and I'm going to mix some blues and some greens here for my background color in the water here. Actually, let me try to do this. I'll set this kind of off to the side. I think I'm going to swap these. You know what, I'm going to leave them this way. There we go. For some reason, it's easier for me to reach across to get my paints. And it seems to be easier for me to look this way as I'm looking at my picture. Probably because when I sit at my computer desk, I like my whatever I'm typing from to be on that side of me. And we're just going over this with some colors. These colors are going to fade off. It's pretty light right now. They're going to fade off into the background, and I'm okay with that. Just want to get some color on here. I'm actually going to come back on while I'm doing this. I'm going to try to be a little bit careful. I'm going to add a little bit of, I'm going to paint a little bit of orange here as an undertone. I'm going to make it really nice and orangey. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to it. There we go. I'm going to go right up to that edge. No, I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to get close, but I'm not going to do it. There we go. Just a really light undertone. Right on out like that. Got some nice greens in this fish's head here. I'm going to let these colors on his body run together. And there I touched, let me zoom in so you can see, way in here. I touched right here. My watercolor is seeping in. I know how silly does that sound? And now I've totally put in the wrong color altogether. Not to worry. My watercolor is seeping into my water colors. Yes, I understand how strange that sounds, but you know, we're not going to worry about it. We're going to roll with it. What color is my eye there? I'm going to not paint my eye. There we go. I don't want these just to kind of come together a little bit. What I'm trying to avoid. Oh, what am I doing? I'm busy talking away. I need to keep painting. What I'm trying to avoid is having big gaps where you can see these paint colors. Definitely make a hard line in here, and I don't want the fish to be so right out there away from the water I want them to be kind of in the water a little bit. So if I have a little bit of a line, I'm not going to worry about it, but if they touch a little bit, it's going to help blend the two together. So I'm going to hope that they do mix just a little bit. Yes, we could be super careful and get in there with a super small brush and make sure we get as close as we can to these lines and go from there. And it would work just as well. It worked fine. I'm just hoping I can do it this way a little bit and maybe avoid a little bit of the having to be super, super careful. I'm going to lay this watercolor color of the water, let's say it that way. I'm going to lay the color of the water down here first, and it's going to, as you know, when it dries, it's going to get a little bit lighter. And let's see, let me get some of this. And we're going to let it kind of dry off, as it were. There we go. Like in the bottom of this. It's not going to look exactly like our picture here, but it'll be similar, and that's good enough for our purposes. If you know me, I don't try to paint things that are exact anyways. People want to paint things that are just like what they see, and I think it puts too much pressure on you to be exact and to be perfect, and doesn't allow you to have as much fun with what you're painting. So I try to make a good representation of what I'm painting, if not an exact representation. So that's my approach if you've seen me paint before. I don't know where I was going with that. You know what? I really was thinking this would help me fill in this color a little faster. I think mostly what it's doing is making me have to work a little bit harder. I could just be zooming along with this round brush. I've switched back to my number 6 round. And look, I've been talking so much, I've now got to get a tide mark on the side of my fish here. I don't want that. I'm trying to keep a wet edge, a little bit of a wet edge on this whole fish. There we go. Problem averted. I can switch into a little darker color, maybe into this red. I might have to get a little different color here. I don't know exactly what my colors are going to be like. My red, I haven't used this palette in quite a while, so I'm a little curious about it. If I'm honest, it's going to be a little fun for me to see what colors are on here after a while. There we go. Let's just put some color on that tail. Now I'm getting a little bit stronger than I really wanted to, and a little bit more water here. And I've got to be careful of that. I don't want to get too wet and let everything run together. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here we go. You can just see it starting to bleed out here. It's a little bit wetter than I wanted it to be. I'm not going to worry about it a whole lot right now. I'm just going to be mindful of that and hope to not fall into the same problem at the bottom half of the tail. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll be totally fine. There we go. You know what? Before I do anything, I'm going to add a little bit of our green. Do his tail back here. I think that'll make it look nice. There we go. He's got a little bit of green back there. And by doing that, I'll tell you what I did. I just made it too wet. I just made it wetter back there, just like I said I didn't want to do. Either it's a damp night tonight. Whoa, let me get back on the screen. Either it's a damp night tonight, or my brushes are holding more water than I remember them holding, or maybe a little bit of both. So I'm just going to use a tiny bit here of Payne's Gray, really light, underneath his, on the bottom part of his chin here. What am I looking for? Some more of my orangey color right down here. We are obviously going to go over this again. There we go. And I need to finish my blues and greens down here. Before I get too carried away. There we go. Gonna put a little bit of ochre in here as we're getting towards the bottom. And I can tell I need to zoom out a little bit more so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. Where's my ochre? Just going to take away. I'm just drying my brush off, getting it really dry. I know that some of this paper is still wet up here, so I'm taking that edge that's starting to dry and moving it up to what I know is still a little bit damp up there. Hopefully we'll get away from a little bit of that tide mark. If we don't, we'll fix it later. It's not the end of the earth or end of the world. It's all good. And we've got some nice umber down here. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. I think what I needed really was a lot bigger brush than what I've got here. We could have done this whole thing maybe in a couple of minutes. It would have been fine. We're going to call it good for right now. Let me dry this. I'm going to come right back. Alright, we're back and he is dry now. Totally dry. And what we have is one gnarly looking fish here. We are going to fix that in a jiff. And I'm going to try to start right here at the head and work my way back. And we're going to see how this goes. I think what I'm going to do though, while this was drying, I dipped into my red here, and it's an alizarin crimson probably, but I don't think it is quite the red I want. So I've got a different palette. I'm going to swap out, and you can see I've got this little bit of red here. This is Pyrrole red. This is a very nice fiery red. And I think I want that just for the red on his back here. I really want to keep that nice and red. So I'm going to switch and go to this palette. And here I've got the colors. So I'll just tell you what's in here. Pyrrole red, quinacridone red, maroon paraline, turquoise, anthraquinine blue, ultramarine blue, sap green, phthalo green, gamboge, Hansa yellow, azo yellow, and Payne's gray. I think we're going to hit the Pyrrole red, we'll hit the antho blue, the ultramarine blue, and probably the phthalo and turquoise green. Maybe a little of the Hansa yellow. I don't know. I'll leave this. I got a spot of water on here. I'll leave this up at the top. You can see kind of what I'm working with. But I'm going to go with this. I'm going to go right into... Ooh, I think I'm going to go into a little of this Antho Blue. I'm going to start right up here. And I'm going to try to be a little bit more precise. And I'm going to actually try to let you see what I'm doing here. And I'm gonna put the blue that's on his jaw. It runs right down his jawline, right here. A nice, dark, rich blue. Right down like that. I'm gonna get a little bit of water, not that much. I'm gonna kind of go paint right back into this. to draw a little bit of this out. I'm going to continually clean my brush. I don't want that blue to come flying out of there. That's a pretty strong blue. So I can keep it out just a little bit. I think we're doing good. When I say out, I mean kind of out of the rest of the painting. I don't want it running. I don't want to put enough water so it just flows all the way out and over. I'm going to get a little bit, I know this is a little bit of sap green in here, right around his eye. I'm going to let that blue and that green mix that little bit. There we go. And if I had a little bit of yellow in here too, that'd be good. Here's a little bit of Hansa yellow. I'm going to let these all kind of mix right up here. Ooh, that looks like fun. Just a mix and finish drawing his snout, which is all craggled over up here. There we go. I like that. I'm going to come back and just touch this edge back here just to keep it a little bit wet. I've got a little bit more of this blue that I can take around here anyways. There we go. He's got a little that comes up here. And I'm going to continue on. I'll mix in a little bit of my phthalo blue. I want his head to stand out here. There we go. And you can see he's starting to come to life a little bit. There we go. Just letting those blue and that green run together a little bit in there. And I'm going to put a little bit more of this green and some of the yellow right up here. I'm going to need a little bit more water. There we go. And that comes down. You can see that gill line almost right there like that. And I'm going to go right into my Pyrrole red. This nice fiery red with this beautiful orangey background on there. That's going to make a nice, nice, bright fish. There we go. I think I need a little more firepower here. I had grabbed the size 4 so I could work on his head. I think I'm going to go back up to this is a 6, yeah. The size 6 so I cover a little bit more area. I'm not going to do that fin quite yet. I'm going to carry this red right down his back. I'm going to hang on to that fin just for a second. I got a drop of water right there that I don't want. There we go. Come on right on down. Right around this gill. And as I'm coming down, I'm going to mix in a little bit of this blue. It's going to give me a nice purplish color in here. I don't want it all to be purple. I do want some red, so I'm going to continue to have my red in here. I don't like how this is going. I'm going to make some vertical lines here. I hope that's going to give them a little bit of texture. If I don't get what I want, I'm just going to come back and I'm going to kind of mix this up a little bit. I don't want a color line right here. I want it to look a little messy in here, so I'm just going to mix in a little bit more of this red until I get down to the bottom. I like how that's going. Once I get down there, I'm going to mix in a little bit more of this blue. This is a very strong blue. Very strong. And I'm actually going to mix in way at the bottom down here. Since I have the color and since I really like this color, I'm just going to drop a tiny bit of turquoise in there. There's no real call for that. I just kind of like it. Let me move this up a little bit more so you can see it a little better. Now I'm losing a little bit of my red down here, so I'm just going to come back and put a little bit more on that. I'm going to continue that right on down the tail here before I dry out too much. And as I go down the tail, I'm just going to thin this way out. Oh, still got some blue on my brush in there somewhere. That's not what I want. Come on, really get in there. Clean that brush out. That should help. Let's see. There we go. He's got little marks on that tail. It should help. I just want to wash that back a little bit. Just, Bob Ross would say, 2 hairs and some air. I don't want to steal his saying, but I think he's right. You just want to barely get it wet and just pull it back into the painting is how I'm doing it. And I got it a little too wet. I'm trying to rush a little bit. I got it a little bit too wet. I didn't want to do that. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'm not going to worry about it. All right, let's see what I got to do. I can't see my picture. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. Oh, I've got a fin down here I got a fin over there. I got a fin over there. I got a couple of fins. Let me start with this fin. I'm going to start it red. There we go. It goes kind of like that. But we have a lot of this blue color that's in that. And I'm going to touch it and make some lines. And hopefully, if I'm doing it right, when I do that, it's going to kind of make it look like the ribs in that fin there. I'm going to fill in. You know what I'm going to do before I do anything? I'm going to go back to my little bit smaller brush here. I'm going to fill in this guy's mouth. Nice. Nice and dark blue. There it goes. And I got a little bit on his chin down here. Just a few little detail marks down here. I'm going to put on, not really detail. I guess detail isn't what I'm really looking for at this point. There we go. And I need a little bit more of this Payne's Gray. I happen to have some Payne's Gray in this palette also. Here it is. I know that I need this just to be a little bit darker, like right under here. Let me come around to this side so I can make a nice line. There we go. Drying off my brush most of the way. I'm just going to feather that a little bit. Oh, that's better, better, better. I like that. A lot better, a lot better. You know what? I'm not going to futz with the top of that jaw. I am going to give just, while I'm here and while I have this little smaller brush, I'm going to straighten out the line of his top jaw a little bit. And with this one, I carry a little less water. It's easier to fan out a few colors with it. There we go. You can see that jaw like that. And now I've got, I don't know, a couple of more fins to do. I'm trying to keep everything in view so you can see what I'm doing. Let me come up here and do this. Again, I'm staying with my little smaller brush. I'm going to paint on, I'm going to do it in little lines. This fin, the dorsal fin, and I'm just going to let it touch the body. And if you can see in this picture, there actually is a little line right here. And so hopefully where I paint over this fish's body, the paint overlaps just that tiny bit, it will look kind of like where it's attached right there. That's what I'm hoping for anyways. All right, I've got a couple of more here. This one's going to be simple, little easy one, same way. It's a little, again, I'm using just Pyrrol red, straight Pyrrol red, not even mixing it on these fins. Here we go. That one's done. I got one down here. Now I do have a little bit of blue color in this one. We'll work on that. So straight Pyrrol red. I just want to get that right up to the body. And I'm trying to go and just leave little ragged edges right at the end of that fin so it looks like a fin. How I imagine that fish fin would end. Not sure what the name of this fin is. For all I know, it could be his huck fin. I don't know that. But there we go, there's that fin, and now I'm going to come back in just with a little bit of this blue and just a couple little tiny lines. There we go, hope you can see those. I'm going to zoom in here in just a second. I've got one more fin to put on here. We're getting close. This one is right. Let me see, what do we look like on this one? So on this fin we've got, well, you know what, on this, now that I look at it, this fin doesn't stick out quite that much. I'm going to put just another little touch of blue in here where that fin kind of attaches to the body. There we go, and I know that this fin, well, my paint's, boy, it started out, my painting was too wet. Now my paints are drying up a lot faster than I thought they would be. I do have the heat on in the studio, but usually in the winter it's damp enough with the heater on. It's usually not much of a change from a normal summer day. What am I looking for? Just a touch of this blue to go in that fin right there. I've got an eyeball to do now. And how am I going to do the eyeball? I think I'm going to cheat on the eyeball. If you excuse me for one moment, I am going to find some watercolor pencils somewhere. Here I have some. Haha! Yes, this is the cheater's way to do it. Okay, so what am I using here? These are my Prismacolor water-soluble colored pencils, watercolor pencils. And I am going to get one out that looks to me to be, no, not that. Let me zoom out so you can see maybe what I'm doing here. I just pulled out my rack. I think this one, this is Sunburst Yellow. If I were a fish, I would want a sunburst yellow eye, I think. Just going to draw it in with a circle. That makes it nice and easy. And I must have a black around here somewhere. I do. It's on the third row. I've got 3 of these. I didn't realize I had 3 rows of these. This is black. I'm going to give him a little bit of a black eye. Not on purpose. I don't want to give you a black eye on purpose. And this is dark green. I'm just going to draw a line around about half of his eye, just to really set that off. Why did I use dark green? Because I know that his head is kind of dark green at that point. It's going to be just a little bit darker than that. I think if I wanted to, I could continue drawing with these, and I could put, you can see he's got a little bit of a line here in his gill. I could put that on with this. I think it would look something like that. There we go. Let me let you see what I'm doing. Let me really zoom in here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm moving my paints out of the way. So I just drew his eye in, put a little black dot in the center, a green line around, and I've just done kind of a semicircle here. I'm going to draw a couple little marks, enhance those, and on the tail, I'm going to do one more thing here. I didn't realize I was going to get these out and do this, but this will work just as well. I don't know what color this is. Poppy red. Okay, a poppy red. I think what I'm going to do on the tail is just ever so slightly draw in a couple of lines on his tail to make it look as though it's got some ribs or veins or something there. And while I've got poppy red, I almost can't even use poppy red. I'm going to try to draw a couple up here, a little bit more subtle maybe. You can see my poppy red is really poppy, not sharp at all. Maybe if you used a little bit of crimson, that would help a little bit better. I guess you could take this, and if you really wanted to clean up any of these lines around here, you could use your colored pencil to do that. Whoops. And there he is. That's what we're left with. And you can see he kind of really pops off the page there. He's got that cool watercolory, blendy, whooshy, I don't know what you describe, that watercolor look. I think it looks cool. Here's our reference photo. I think it turned out great. I had a great time painting this with you and drawing. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you come back to the studio again next time. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.